Dan Mandis here, and we were regaling you with some audio from yesterday's House Oversight hearing, part of the impeachment and inquiry against President Joe Biden. And this has turned into one of my absolute favorite moments.
Yes, I just want to make sure that I point out, and this is not a question, just in case you wanted to know, that on page 174 of your transcribed interview, line 9, it says, "This is an absolute lie," in reference to talking about the FBI. What you stated,
I did not call the
what was
FBI
stated
agents
right
liars.
before that was, first of all, I said that I'm speaking, and I did not ask you a question.
That is Jasmine Crockett out of Texas, a congresswoman, and Congressman Tim Burchett now joins us on the Newsmaker Hotline. Congressman, you got to follow that train wreck, and let's talk a little bit about, first of all, that exchange. I mean, it really was disrespectful towards Tony Bobulinski.
It was. Bobulinski's a naval officer, former naval officer. Look, I sat in all these hearings with him, and the guy doesn't use any notes. Nobody contradicts dates, times, places, amounts of money, and who was in the room. And he can do that from years ago, just from memory. He's got some crazy IQ, but and Jasmine, look, it's just a show. It's a clown show. I was on Fox or somebody yesterday, and I told him, I said, Bozo's called and said that we violated our clown rule over here because this is just a clown show. And the sad truth is we might not even vote on this thing. And then if we did, it wouldn't pass. I wish we would vote on it and just let the chips fall where they may, as they say, because I'm tired of these folks, these so-called conservatives down here. And I know I'm violating Reagan's 11th commandment, but dadgummit, these guys and gals come down here and they go home and they talk real tough. Oh, I'm going to vote to do that. And then, but the leadership didn't allow us to do it. Well, dadgummit, put it up for a vote and let's see what happens. I would just like to do that. And then maybe some of these folks would not be asked to come back. Well, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, Congressman. I mean, and I was talking about that earlier, actually, because if it came to an actual vote, well, then the fear is that the Republicans would lose the House. We already have just a very slim majority because you've got all of these Republicans in Biden-friendly districts. And so you don't really know which way they're going to lean on a vote like this. But do you think that it would pass if it did come up for a vote?
Heck no. But that's why I say put it up for a vote. The press will be saying, it's the end of the Republican Party, but the Republican Party would say, hey, we know who we got, and let's thin the herd a little bit. And that's the problem. We've got these they call them squishes up here. I don't know. They're just moderates or liberals, and if they can get reelected on that agenda in their district, let them. The problem you got down here is the same deal you got anywhere in politics. Is you get, they get too comfortable in the position and they don't want to offend anybody. And here we are. We take in a little less than $5 trillion and we spend more than $7 trillion every dadgum year. And we cannot. We're at $35 trillion debt right now. We cannot keep going down this path. And and the Democrats are allowed to say things like, these Republicans trying to pass this budget and make these harmful cuts. Well, guess what? If we don't start making some of these cuts, we're not going to have anything to cut because it's all going to collapse. We're spending all this money. We're sending it to Ukraine. We're borrowing the money. We are borrowing that money. We don't have any money. We are broke. This is a Ponzi scheme, and one day it's going to come crashing down. And all your do-gooders, your college professors sitting there talking about how ridiculous we are. We're ridiculous because we're spending all this money, and we've got to come to grips with it. And this thing yesterday, and Republicans are just as guilty of it as anybody. As a matter of fact, we're more guilty because we know better.
Congressman Tim Burchett joining us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm going to play devil's advocate because I know exactly what you're saying because I've done that monologue many times. Is there a justification for these kinds of hearings, knowing that it's going to go nowhere? Is there a justification for doing it so that the American people are able to, at the very least, see the evidence that the Republicans have so that they can bear it in mind in November when they decide who to vote for, Donald Trump or Joe Biden?
Absolutely. I presented my portion. I presented dealt with communist Chinese influence and how Hunter basically, he told the guy that the communist Chinese energy company, which I don't know why Hunter would be getting millions of dollars from them, said, I'm on the phone with my father and he wants to know why you all are not coming forth with this money. And there'll, basically be repercussions. I can't remember the exact wording. But those are the kind of things that people need to hear when you hear the talking heads and we listen to those windbags on the View talk about how that there's no evidence. That's all they keep saying. There's no evidence yet. There's $20 million that have flowed through this company, this family. You want to call it a company, whatever. They have 21 different shell corporations, 20 different bank accounts. They have emails from bankers saying, "Hey, they're not selling any product. This is the kind of thing we're worried about because that's what the mob does." And so there's no evidence that they paid any taxes on any of it.
Yeah.
And yet, they get a pass on all this stuff, and they let statutes run. The Justice Department does. Yeah, I think it's important America finds out. The problem we got is we want to do it. We want to play by some sort of rules. And this is a street fight. We've taken 15 months. We should have done this in 3 weeks. We should have just called them all in, done it, voted on it up or down, and not let the media dictate what we're doing. Instead, we're trying to play by some goody two-shoes rules and just do it all legal, but get it over with in a hurry. And let's go. And let's move on to the next one. Don't, because we know exactly what the media is going to say. The media is going to say, no evidence. This is taking too long. Why are they doing this? Well, you know why we're doing it? It's because it's the committee of jurisdiction. We don't talk about potholes and oversight. You know what the Democrats did when they had it? They spent 12 months talking about the Redskins football team up here and how they need to change their logo. That's what they talked about. Yet, they're being critical of us because they're saying we're not doing anything.
Well, and the crazy thing, Congressman, is you're absolutely right when you say that the left talks about how there's no evidence. One of the audio bites that I'm playing, and it was one of my favorite moments from yesterday's hearings, was when Byron Donalds came in and he had where the money was coming from, the accounts, the receipts, and where the money was going and how it ultimately ended up in Joe Biden's pocket. Now, 10% for the big guy. When you're dealing with someone like an AOC, who she's in the news today because of that whole RICO thing, when you talk about AOC or Jasmine Crockett or some of your other friends there in the House of Representatives, do they really believe that there is no evidence? Because it is abundantly clear that there is a mountain of evidence. And I'm just curious if the behind-the-scenes conversation matches their denials when the cameras are on.
Yeah, they do. But you got to figure AOC is publicly educated with a degree in economics, and she's a Marxist. So, yeah, I mean, the ends justify the means. They hate Trump. They know he's going to clean house. They know he will right the ship. We will not have anarchy. We will not turn into a Marxist state. They know that, and they can't. They're going to turn loose all that free money they're getting for their districts. They're going to stop paying people not to work. We're going to stop giving illegals credit cards, paying them $80,000-$90,000 a year, giving them free health care, kicking veterans out of nursing home or housing centers so they can house illegals. They're gonna stop that whole nonsense, and they know it, and that's their power. Because if they don't have that edge to turn on the American public, the people that traditionally think like most people do in Tennessee, then they will lose their power base. And, of course, also, that's what happens when 10% of the population votes. We deserve it. We deserve it, brother. I mean, if that's the best we can do, is that deal yesterday? I mean, we are, God's going to wipe us off this crazy marble we call the earth.
Well, let me ask you, Congressman Tim Burchett is joining us. When you look at all of the other things that are going on in the world, I mean, we've got Ukraine, We've got what is going on between Hamas and Israel. Headline out of the news today from the Daily Mail. Nearly 200,000 migrant deportation cases were thrown out because Joe Biden administration failed to file paperwork before their court hearings. And so they, of course, dissolve into, the fabric of America. And we know that there's some of these illegal aliens are doing horrific things. So when you do have to deal with all of that insanity that you did yesterday, you've got to be just sitting there grinding your teeth and just really irritated, because these are the kinds of things that really do need to be fixed in our country.
100%. 100%. We are not, we're throwing this money at Ukraine. I just saw today where they were upset. I tweeted about it, and they're calling me a Russian asset, but they're upset that we're going to loan them money, which you all know they're never going to have to repay that. That's a joke. And then our missile defense system companies are saying, "Oh, this is great. We're just going to reinvest that money back in America." Yeah, buy more dadgum missiles for their stockholders. A lot of them happen to be in Congress. So I think people need to start paying attention, and people need to start voting some of these people out. Before, you had 2 years. You run for Congress every 2 years. And then in U.S. Senate, they pull some bonehead stunt, and you got 6 years to remember that. Look, America wants their pizzas in 30 minutes or less, and dadgummit, that's about our attention span, and I'm guilty of that. We got to start paying attention. We got to start looking at what these people are voting for up here, and vote them out. And I don't care if they're they were your Sunday school teacher, or you play golf with their cousin, or whatever. I get so sick of those lame arguments. We're going to lose our dadgum country. We are losing it. And this one is for all the marbles. And if the people of Tennessee don't understand that, they need to look around the country. Look at New York. Look at California. Look at all the big city stuff that's going on. And that is coming to us. We are a border state.
Oh, absolutely.
We're seeing that every day. And the reason it happens, because we don't vote. We sit on our butts and we complain, or we say, well, we'll elect the president, but we're not going to mess with the school board or the city council. Or, we've got an openly Marxist member of city council in Knoxville, Tennessee, unapologetically a Marxist, and they get reelected because why? 8% of the population or something like that votes. That's so lame. They're not taking it from us, man. We're giving it. Don't be mad at them. Yeah. Mad at our own people. Mad at these preachers that refuse to preach the gospel because they're afraid they're going to offend somebody. Mad at you all, and me too, because we hear somebody say something about our country that is wrong, and we're afraid we don't have the guts to stand up. On Facebook, somebody's attacking the country. Somebody's, and it's wrong. And I'll tell you something else I would do. These people that watch these TV shows where these people continuously, like The View, and continuously run down their country, if you see an ad on there for a company, a cereal, a car company, or whatever, I'd call your dealership. I'd call them and say, hey, I'm never going to buy another one of your cars. I'm not going to buy your cereal. I'm not going to buy your food. I'm not going to buy your clothes. I'm not going to buy your cologne or whatever, because you all are advertising on a show that runs our country down. Yep. And I've had it. We've got to start sending that message. Until we do, it's never going to change, and we will lose everything.
All right, Congressman, I wanted to ask you, I don't know, can you do a real quick update on the Afghanistan withdrawal hearings?
Yeah.
Because that's fascinating.
Well, we blundered, actually. It's everybody wanted to blame the generals, and the reality was the generals who came to testify, and they caught a lot of hell for it, and they are doing the honorable thing by coming to committee. They didn't have to do it. They did at the request of the Republicans, actually. And it turned out it was the State Department, people that never fired a shot in anger, have never been in the military, were calling a lot of the shots. The generals and everything, they complained. They said, we can't do this, but then they were overridden by this State Department and this White House. Yep. And that's why 13 Americans died needlessly. We had, on two different occasions, I found this out in the testimony. I asked the question of the Marine Corps sniper, did you ever have the suicide bomber? He said, we had him identified. We knew who he was. We saw him with a briefcase, carrying a case, which obviously was the bomb. And we had him twice in our sights. and we were told both times to stand down through our leaders because they were told by the State Department you could not take that guy out. That's who's running this White House. That's what happens when you don't vote. It literally, and we left billions of dollars of armaments on the ground that will be used against us to kill more Americans. And they try to blame that on Trump. It had nothing to do with Trump. They evacuated from the wrong airport. Our strongest area they could have gone to. We could have saved people. There's still over 1,000 Americans that are in Afghanistan, and this White House refuses to do anything about it. That should make your blood boil.
Congressman, 30 seconds. Did they say why the snipers weren't allowed to take this guy out, the suicide bomber?
No. So it's just a State Department bureaucrat. Again, we are so compromised at that level.
Yep.
State Department needs to go. We don't need to be there. I was told one time communism survives in a couple areas: China, Cuba, and the United States State Department. These people are openly against this country, and we need to clean them up.